You are listening to Rooted to Earth, a SAE Innova podcast.
There is something about human beings that we actually know what are healthy ecosystems, and it was guiding us in the past, before we had all this scientific knowledge, to be able to find healthy ecosystems that would be able to nurture us. Most young farmers that I speak to, they're like, what? You can farm without chemicals? Like, they don't even know that it's possible. People have the most simple questions, which is also very understandable because it's usually a farming method that people have never really seen or be exposed to. And this is also why we create farmer networks in different regions all over Greece, so that farmers have a network of people in their region and they can learn from each other different practices that maybe are already regenerative.
This is a space for real conversations, from farmers and scientists to community leaders and innovators, each of them working to bring nature back into balance. This is Rooted to Earth. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Rooted to Earth. Today we talk with Sheila Darmos. She is the co-founder and director of the Southern Light. Sheila grew up on one of Greece's first organic farms, long before certification even existed in the country. Taking over the farm led her to question not just how food is produced, but how farms connect with the wider landscape and community. That journey brought her to agroforestry and eventually to founding the Southern Lights, a hub for regenerative farming and knowledge exchange. In this episode, we explore the realities of transitioning to regenerative practices and also into the challenges of being a pioneer in this transition. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Hi, Sheila. Welcome to our podcast and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you for having me.
First of all, I would like to start this conversation highlighting that recently you were part of a plenary session at the second European Carbon Farming Summit, along with another two pioneer farmers from UK and from Poland. What can you tell about your experience, your conclusion about your participation there?
Yeah, thank you. It was a really interesting conference, I have to say. I felt it gathered a lot of very curious people who are really trying to find ways to support farmers to transition, trying to find the best tools and how to make the transition happening. I wish for the future to see more farmers there and more different stakeholder groups from the environment of farmers, from their lived environment in rural areas. As I think a lot of the crises are interlinked and we have to address them together, which we only can do if we bring all the stakeholders together on the same table. So that would be my wish for the coming conferences, but I'm pretty sure it will be achieved because, yeah, I think the organization is doing an incredible job and, yeah, it's really having the best aims for achieving this goal, actually.
For the ones who are listening to this episode, maybe we should start telling a little bit about you, about your organization, the Southern Lights. Then we can understand why you participate in the in the European Carbon Farming Summit. So, could you please
Yeah.
introduce yourself and tell us about this organization in Greece? How did it start and its mission?
Yes, my pleasure. So yeah, I'm actually a farmer in third generation at least, maybe fourth, fifth. I don't know what my grandfather was doing. But yeah, I had the luck to inherit one of the first organic farms in Greece that started already before there was even a certification existing in Greece. Yeah, it's based in a very rural, very depopulated area. Like most of rural Greece is really depopulated. I came actually back to Greece after being 20 years in Germany. So yeah, I also had the luck to have an insight into very different reality in terms of social fabric and like perceptions and worldview. So that was really interesting. And yeah, I also had the luck to inherit a very small family food business that basically exists to support organic farmers. And we create, products like olives and olive paste, and just trying to find to create good products to support farmers, good practices of the region. And then after a while, I saw so many challenges that we have in my rural area that, also with my sociology background, I figured we have to do something about them. And this is when I created the nonprofit organization, the Southern Lights, to be able to tackle all of these challenges. And one of the key challenges I found also in my own work around farming was that there is really no one to support you in transitioning to regenerative farming practices. So we started the initiative Regenerative Farming Greece, trying to find ways to bring better farming practices to the farmers, and really trying to address the systemic challenges and the systemic dynamics that are in this farmer food system, basically. And besides that, we also then went on to create a bioregional weaving lab in our region, because we figured we cannot only focus on farming because all the other crises are so interlinked. So we really need to do a transition on a bioregional level, and bring back, all the other elements of a healthy society that are needed to actually do any kind of transition in any kind of subsector of society, let's say. Besides that, I'm also a co-founding farmer of the EARA, the European Alliance for Regenerative Agriculture, which basically connects pioneering farmers from all over Europe. We learn from each other. We are able to voice our opinions on how the transition could be successful back to the European level, but also support national level actors like us to bring European yeah policies, let's say, down to the national level. I'm also an EU soil mission ambassador since last year. I, I think that's it in a
Okay.
nutshell.
Is your week of 7 days like everyone else, or the,
Yeah, time is very relative, I would say.
in several conversations here in this podcast, I remember listen that farmers and practitioners needs peer-to-peer conversations or relatable examples to start trusting on a transition. And one of the key elements, maybe for fostering this relationship, is the storytelling, the way that people communicates what should be done to improve the way we produce food. And in your words, when you were at the plenary session in the Carbon Farming Summit, you tell your story about how, in a way, you discover agroforestry, how you discover the balance of the biodiversity in your farm, and I think it's a nice storytelling to share in this episode as well.
Yes, sure. It's really interesting how our farm transitioned, because, we were already 30 years an organic farm, but then we did a huge intervention in our farm, which was to graft all the citrus trees that we were having. And our farm is basically big olive trees, hundreds of years old, in a distance, let's say 13 meters from each other. And in between, we had citrus trees 4 by 5 meters distance, and then we grafted them, which means we cut them at the trunk in a height of 50 centimeters, let's say. And suddenly, everywhere, mulberry and fig trees started growing. And it's just the time when the farm passed on to me. So I was the main decision maker, and I was just not really knowing what to do, what to think of this development of the farm. And also I had a lot of people coming to the farm telling me I have to cut all these trees, I need to clean the farm. I'm supposed to be a citrus farmer and not a uh, they said I should basically cut all the other trees that are growing in between. But it just didn't feel right to me. I figured, why nature wants to grow all these other species, and every farmer tells me it's not right that they're growing there. So I figured there must be something wrong of us as farmers going against nature. Yeah, and also discovering that plants usually grow in a forest-like system. I'm like, why do we then farm in such a different way? Have so much energy every year and every day to fight this natural development of nature and of our farms, basically. Yeah, and this is in a way how we discovered agroforestry. Fortunately, there was a, let's call it, sustainability hub in some place in Greece, and they were having a conference where a guy was speaking about syntropic agriculture, and I had never heard about it before. But very quickly we realized that all the mulberries and all the fig trees that were growing in our farm, they were the perfect support species, high layer, while our main crop is medium layer, the citrus trees. So yeah, this is how we came across agroforestry in the first place. And from then, we just kept finding one pioneer after the other and just speaking with them and trying to understand how they farm and what do they know about farming. But we could very quickly see in our farm that it just helped restore a balance, and it just made our farming operation much more resilient, also to heat stress, to heat waves, to yeah, the water storage capacity of the soil improved, the biodiversity of insects
Mhm.
exploded, and of birds as well. So also the pest pressure went really down, and it's just beautiful to observe it year after year. Yeah, that was a bit our story.
Is well, you describe, and also on the Southern Lights website, you describe as farming like nature will do it. So, how does it feel to do it this way? To kind of feel your farm and understand step by step what the soil, what the field is needing at that moment.
It requires from you, I think, that you're constantly open to reassess what you were thinking or believing. So you need to have a really high flexibility. Um, it's also a daily discovery. It's like every day you discover something new about nature, about the dynamics, about the interrelatedness of yeah, of the different elements of nature. And just already when you walk in the farm, you feel so good. And I realize this when I come closer to my neighbor's farm that is like a desert. On the ground, there's no grass, there's
Hmm.
only citrus. You just don't feel so good. And I think there is something about human beings that we actually know what are healthy ecosystems. And it was guiding us in the past before we had all this scientific knowledge to be able to find healthy ecosystems that would be able to nurture us. And I think this is again a feeling that you can rediscover in our farm, and it goes very, yeah, it's not very easy to describe with words, but it's just a very good feeling. Then I also have to say, in order to be really so agile and constantly reassess what you think about your farming operation and where you want to go, it also really requires that you have customers who are able to be as flexible as your farming operation itself. And there we have a really interesting insight also with the food business that we have, because we really sell to different kinds of customers. And we really see how some are much more flexible and able to go with us on that way of farming that way, while others that are more like supermarket system, and you need to have a certain yeah, a certain product in a certain quantity over a certain time range, like years after years, otherwise it doesn't even make sense for the supermarkets to put you in the shelf. um, so that then is really not very supportive towards a farmer transitioning. And yeah, this is also a bit a message I would have
Hmm.
to people working in the food business, working in the retail business, to adapt their structures to be more able to accompany farmers in that transition. Because also, it's not that we already know, in this area, it's best to transition in this and that way. We really need to still see like what species combination makes sense. And then it also changes over the years as the climate changes. So yeah, ideally, we
Hmm.
build structures like CSA, for example, community supported agriculture, that can really walk together with the farm on a change path, let's say.
Something interesting here is the relationship between reassessing constantly and what nature it's telling you, and at the same time how through or thanks to the scientific developments and knowledge we understand way more about what we are doing. But for that we need data, and data needs kind of a routine to be measurable. So how do you find this relationship between reassess constantly and at the same time trying to be measurable?
I think that would probably be best to ask a researcher. But what I can see from our past years, is that really the best things happen when you bring in a researcher into your farm, and this person has actually some time to immerse themselves into the farming operation and really for them to observe themselves. But first of all, to drop all of the things that they were thinking to measure and assess and count and whatsoever, because when you come into the farm, it's like so many things that you can already discover that you could measure. But I think it's really important to start from the farm level and not to start from a program level. This is what's currently being funded, or this is how we have to go about it. But really start from the farm level and then to build from there whatever kind of research program that you could think about.
Your farm also serves as a hub for learning, and well, you told me before when we were scheduling this recording that you will receive soon a lot of people, a lot of students at your place. What is the reaction of these students visiting for the first? But maybe it's not the first time, but visiting a place like this.
Yes. So for most of the people, it is the first time. And yeah, most people perceive it as a paradise. Like it's really immediate, the feeling that you get when you come into the farm.
Sorry,
And
the students are Greek students, or
no, so actually, the students are not students in the sense that they go to university, but they're students in the sense that they are open for learning. So this Erasmus Plus training that we're doing is really focused on people working in other rural areas in Greece and working on a bioregional transition themselves in a way, even though they might not have really officially started or they might not perceive necessarily their work in that sense. But yeah, we really do a very thorough and specific application process. So it's really incredible the kind of people that come to our farm. And yeah, whenever our farm fills with students, it's really a nice, small, impermanent community that gets created because we spend together 2 weeks. We eat together, we wake up together, we go pick fruits together, we learn together, we evolve together, and it's really beautiful to see the farm coming to life and being a small village. We're gonna be 55 people. And yeah, we will also do some activities outside of the farm to help other farmers, help in villages, which is also really interesting for the locals to see people coming together from Spain, Italy, Portugal, France, and also having the opportunity to exchange and realizing that we all have this very similar challenges in our rural areas. It really helps the people bond and like, yeah, feel really good.
mhm. Regarding this public awareness, what are the biggest misconceptions you find?
It's vastly unknown, I would say, which is yeah, which is quite troubling. Most young farmers that I speak to, they're like, "What? You can farm without chemicals?" Like they don't even know that it's possible. Then another misconception of people that know that it exists is that people think it's not financially viable, which is also totally not true. There are so many studies that show that it's actually much more profitable than doing conventional agriculture, because also it goes hand in hand in changing where you sell to, changing the market that you collaborate with. So I think those are some of the most common misconceptions. And then there's also a lot of question marks. Like people have the most simple questions, which is also very understandable because it's usually a farming method that people have never really seen or be exposed to. And this is also why we create farmer networks in different regions all over Greece so that farmers have a network of people in their region and they can learn from each other different practices that maybe are already regenerative. Yeah, because it's really important to just see it. Like me myself, I'm a person like that. I have to see something in order to really understand what it is about. If I just hear it in theory, I'm like, I can't really connect to it. It's what you said in the beginning about the storytelling. It's really important to have
Mhm.
simple stories and really to share your yeah, your challenges but also your success stories. It's how people learn since ever, actually.
During the summit, the role of early adopters or innovative pioneer farmers was highlighted. In fact, was the kind of the title of the session you attended. And I imagine it feels rewarding having this role. But what are these initial challenges of being the first to do something at the summit? For example, you mentioned that there is a lack of agronomists specialized in this matter, for example. So how does it feel to be the first one doing or starting a process, starting this transition?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question. Yeah, I think being a pioneer by definition is a challenging role. It's just with plant communities, you have the pioneer species that can survive in very tough conditions, and I would say it's very similar with pioneers in all domains, I guess. What I can share from my experience in the farming sector is that the challenge about being a pioneer is that all the rest of the population thinks that you're crazy or that you do something that doesn't make sense. People now
Oh,
are
that will not work.
yeah, people are not understanding you, and it also puts you in a position where you have some distance between you and the rest of the population, let's say,
Mhm.
because you have such a different approach to life, to farming, to whatever you do, and that is challenging on a human emotional level, I would say. But I guess some people are more built for that than others, and that is our niche, let's say. But yeah, on a practical level, it's just really uh yeah, you have to find many different other ways to have progress and to find solutions. There, as you said, there are no agronomists that you could just ask. Otherwise, also, if there were agronomists, you wouldn't be a pioneer in the first place. You would probably be an early adopter or early majority. um, but yeah, it's exciting. You discover something new, and yeah, you can connect with people from other places of the world, and you find similarities, and you realize you're on the same path. But yeah, I guess in your lived social environment, you're quite alone.
Well, after 30 or 35 years of organic farming at your place at the southern and southern lights, what's next for the organization?
So I think for us, what's coming next is really to bring all the Greek movements together, really to build bridges across diverse stakeholders that in the end we all are going into the same direction. It's to build structures that really capitalize on the potential that there is out there. I mean, we feel it every day. There's so much momentum around this transition, and people are so ready for change. But there are still a lot of dots that we need to connect, a lot of actors, a lot of organizations, a lot of movements. Yeah, and that for us is coming next in this year to really then again be able to bring back this empowerment and all these tools and connections to the people on the ground, to the hubs, and back to each organization to yeah, to have a good feedback loop and to know what's going on in other movements and organizations. And in a way, it's also something that we did with EARA in Brussels in February. We really joined a lot of movements, agroecology, conservation agriculture, nature conservation, change making, empowering organizations. And yeah, we realized, okay, let's all go together on that path because, yeah, unity in diversity. I think that's a very good motto for what's ahead.
Sheila, and lastly, is something I always ask. It's kind of a tricky question because it's a question inside another one. But is there something I didn't ask you that you wish I had, or anything you would like to highlight or mention?
That's a good question. um, I would like to encourage everybody to dare to do what we already know that we have to do, but we're maybe not fully ready. But yeah, this is what I would like to encourage our audience to do. Dare.
Thank you for being here with us, for your time, and for this conversation today.
Thanks so much, Fernando. It was a pleasure.